All right, welcome to the Big J Little J show. This is the Duke basketball preview, the season preview as the season is near. We are recording on Halloween, Connor. If you are new here, the Big J Little J show, I am the Little J, J-Man's Takes on Twitter. The Big J is Connor O'Neill of Devils Illustrated and On3. And before we get started with that, word from our sponsors. Legacy Safe, a website called legacysafe.info is a website that my parents created. Legacy Safe is a secure cloud-based platform for individuals, couples, and families tailored for organizing personal account information, legal documents, assets, and more. It is designed to provide individuals with reassurance that their affairs will be managed effectively and efficiently once they have passed. Legacy Safe is a website that gives you the platform to have all your affairs in order. And again, the website is legacysafe.info, legacysafe.info, not .com, legacysafe.info. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in North Carolina? Whether you're moving across town or across the state, Jacob Mann with eXp Realty is here to help you make your real estate journey smooth, strategic, and stress-free. From first-time buyers to seasoned investors, he knows North Carolina and how to get results. Connect with Jacob today at 336-266-9088 or on Instagram at the.real.estate.man. And let's make your next move your best one yet. Connor, it's always hard to look at you when I do these ad reads. I see you smiling every time I give Jacob's ad read going.
I'm shaking my head because, yes, I'm looking to buy a home. Like, I want to get to the point where I'm contacting Jacob to tell him, yeah, man.
And if you're just tuning in to this is your first Big J Little J show episode, Jacob goes from Charlotte to damn near across the whole state. So he can buy and sell homes in Mebane, North Carolina, or Charlotte, or everywhere in between, including Kernersville, Winston-Salem.
I don't want to stay in Kernersville. I want to be in like Greensboro, maybe Gibsonville area type. We'll talk.
Well, let's get into the exhibitions, Connor. First, welcome back to everybody that is here for Duke basketball. Respectfully, I understand we have been talking about Duke football, and this is now Duke basketball's episode, which is the preseason preview or season preview. We'll go over the two exhibition games, Connor. Briefly, let's start with the UCF game. Obviously, you and I were there. Just what was your main takeaway into the UCF game before we get into the Tennessee one?
I'm trying to remember back. My main takeaway, other than, we'll talk more about Cam Boozer, but obviously when a guy scores 33, I don't care if it's an exhibition or anything short of it being offense on air, I'm impressed. So that was a grown-ass man performance that we saw. I feel like I was lied to with Nick Kamenia. When we saw him in that early August scrimmage, and when we saw the scrimmage at Countdown, I don't know. I didn't arrive at any conclusions about him, but watching the game against UCF, where he's in the starting lineup because Dame Sarr was out that game. He was flying around like I use the term whirling dervish. He was just everywhere on the court against UCF. He had 14 points, and I think he was 9 for 12 at the free throw line. So even in a game his shot wasn't falling, I believe he was 2 for 8. He still managed to find a way to get 14. He was just all over the court, and it was like I was watching a completely different player than the one that I had formed a way too early opinion of. So seeing that from him, aside from Cam Boozer's big night, was my main takeaway against UCF.
Yeah, that's all I have too. Is Semenia's motor against UCF. How many passes were deflected, rebounds that not only did if he didn't come up with it, that he tipped around for a teammate to grab. He did a lot of the little things excellent against UCF, and 7 fouls drawn, to your point of he had 14 points. He had 7 fouls drawn, and that's something that it wasn't a fluke against UCF. He did that in high school, did that, I think, and when he played for the World Cup team. I'm pretty sure he would just go to his points were going to the charity stripe. So big guy too. He passed the eye test of a big body, and he did really well. I know it's UCF, but one of my takeaways with that was Duke being able to play small with him at the 4 and Cam Boozer at the 5. And that's because we're going to get into the Tennessee one now, but Duke's defense against Tennessee was really good. Jacoby Gillespie was one of the better transfers in college basketball going to Tennessee. And then Nate Ament, obviously we know his recruiting went down to like Duke and Tennessee, and there was a Kentucky in there somewhere. But
Louisville was in there. Don't forget he watched the ACC championship game from courtside in Charlotte.
That's right, yeah. And I said then, and I'm not saying this after the exhibition, I said it during his recruitment that it was dragging out for so long that I don't like taking guys that really love to milk the process. And I tweeted that somewhere. And then I thought at the time Duke should have gone with Cedric Coward over Nate Ament. They did. And obviously he went to the draft because he's been balling. He balled in the combine, and he's been balling in the NBA. And then Duke pivoted Dame Sarr, who made his debut against Tennessee. But what I was going to was Gillespie and Nate Ament. Duke held them 10 of 40 in the exhibition game. That's pretty impressive from Duke's side, and pretty tough if you're a Tennessee fan.
Especially when the rest of your team is 18 for 27.
Yeah, it was. They were very efficient outside of those two. I mean, I tweeted a Long Cane Pauly video of Rain Dance. That is exactly what Nate Ament was. Ball. He didn't make one pass in that game. He was 5 of 19 or 4 of 19. And besides the 3 air balls, everything else were 12-footers that were just tough clanks.
Yeah, one of the clanks went in.
His last shot that he made that ended a 7.5-minute scoring drought was literally like the saying, throw shit at a wall until something sticks. And it did. It just stuck against the backboard and went in. It was crazy. And Duke's defense, just like last year, I think is going to be ahead of the offense, which is always the norm. But they look good. It was a really good test. I know it was an exhibition game, but it was a sold-out away venue with a very inexperienced Duke team.
Yeah. No, I think, look, maybe year 4 is a little early in John's tenure to say that he has like tendencies that you can just assume every season, but I think you can pretty much count on Duke's defense being ahead of its offense going into every single season under John. I mean, it just, that's the way he wants to build his team out. He wants to get them better on the defensive end. And then during the season, a lot of times during those long breaks, like they'll have, I think, a 10 or 12 day break around final exam time. Then they'll take another final break, another extended-ish break around Christmas where guys will go home, but they'll obviously have several practices where they're just working on themselves and not doing game plan specific stuff. That's when you'll start to see the offense go in. Like, this team will be a lot better offensively in January and February than they will be in November and December. That's the way last year was.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that later in this episode, Connor, because when we get to at the end, we'll have our prediction, or floor, ceiling, and prediction.
Yeah,
but yeah, Isaiah.
The other point to make with the Tennessee game is when you're talking about it being a road environment, sold out crowd. I don't think John could have asked for it to play out better than it did. Like, you're down 6 on the road. You had to fight and claw and scratch in the first half, and you really didn't play that well in the first half. And you're down 6, and you face some adversity, and you face some moments where you have to grow up in a hurry. And I mean, it's a game that doesn't count. Like, this is not going to matter for Duke's resume when we're talking whatever seeds in March. But I thought this team grew up a lot in a game that didn't matter. They came out, and more than anything, it's not just from the freshmen. The 2 sophomores took over in the second half. They took ownership of that as much as Cam Boozer did with 24 and 23. I saw a much better version of Pat Gongbo than I did in the first 3 halves of Duke's exhibitions. I thought he was great in that second half at Tennessee. And then Isaiah Evans, we're gonna talk about this all year. When he hits 1-3, he starts doing everything else. Like, he needs 1-3 to go in, and then he'll start driving the lane. He had the nice dunk early in the second half to get Duke really pumping, but He's making defensive plays. Just that's going to elevate this team's ceiling if the two sophomores can play like their draft picks, play like they've been in those situations before, which they have.
Yeah, I mean, one of my main takeaways in the two exhibition games were Pat Gongba and Cam Boozer didn't play that great together against UCF, and I was like, oh, that could be a little bit of a concern if they can't share the court together. And then against Tennessee, it was perfectly fine. Obviously, Gongba was in foul trouble. That's something that is going to be, possibly a yellow flag in the season if he's in foul trouble. And then Cam Boozer is going to play the 5 because we don't know with Malik Brown's situation. But even with the foul trouble, Gongba had 15 and 9 and hit a 3 that was passed out by Cam Boozer, who might be Duke's best passer on top of Duke's best player. Like we're going to have a Cam Boozer segment after we just talk about these exhibitions. So because he deserves to have his own segment, but Gongba 15 and 9. And I think like 25 minutes. And then, Isaiah having 22. He was 5 of 14, but 8 of 8 from the line.
16 of 22 in the second half, too.
What's that?
It was 16 of his 22 points were in the second half.
Oh, yeah. He really lit it up in the second half. I mean, he had a nice dunk, and then he tried to test 2 guys, I think, for Tennessee and try to put them on a poster. It didn't work out. But those are the type of aggressions I want to see in a exhibition game. You know what? Just go for it. Who cares? And Duke scored 83 points while shooting 35% too. That's crazy. That's to get to 83 points in college basketball shooting 35%, where honestly nobody on Duke shot well. Gongba was 5 of 6, but everybody else was really under 50% shooting on the team. I mean, it's crazy. Darren Harris was 1 of 6. Sarr was 2 of 6. Hamini was 2 of 9. And then obviously Boozer was 7 of 20 and Isaiah was 5 of 14. Like, that's crazy that Duke can go on the road. Again, I know exhibition, but still put up 83 points in a win on the road is crazy.
What did you say Hamini was? 2 for 9?
2 for 9. This was the game he looked like a freshman, but he's going to have those games. He's going to have.
He's 4 for 17 in the exhibitions then.
Yeah, it's not great, but I mean, that's, again, I didn't pencil him being a stud for this Duke team. I had him as a role player, really good role player. And what he did against UCF is if he can be more efficient scoring the ball, which I think he could be, then that's a really good role to be in. And so I want to go now into the Cam Boozer discussion because he had almost damn near 20 and 20 in the first half against Tennessee. It was crazy. I mean, his first ever bucket, I guess unofficial bucket against UCF, he puts a guy through the rim on an and 1 dunk. And
on a weird angle, too. Like, he was
very weird
away from the rim.
Yeah, very weird angle. Just how good is he?
No, I mean, I think what I've kind of landed on calling him is just he's Duke's next supernova one and done. Like, there have been so many of these guys now. I want to stress to the point that you don't take any of them for granted, but you trace it almost. I guess you go back to Kyrie. There hasn't been one every single season, but you talk about Kyrie, you talk about Austin Rivers, then you go Jabari Parker after the year with all the older guys that they lost to, I believe it was Louisville in 2013. Yeah, Jabari. You had the 4-man freshman class, but Ja Okafor was the main centerpiece, no pun intended. You have Brandon Ingram. You have Jason Tatum in that class. You go to Bagley and Wendell Carter, but Bagley, Zion, number 1, and then Paolo. Guess there wasn't anyone. They went 2 years without one. So I guess that was a really, really dry period for 2 years. You only had Lively, Flip, Jared McCain was a one and done, but it's not like he was a supernova. Like, I'm talking about these other guys. And then
Flip wasn't a one and done. Flip was 2 and done.
Right. 2-hit Flip. But and then you have Cooper and Cam Boozer. And the crazy thing that we shouldn't forget is that Cooper was in this class. So it'd be an even crazier discussion of National Player of the Year if you had 4 guys that are all quote unquote generational talents, or at least quote unquote can't miss NBA guys. But I mean, he's going to be the best player in the ACC. He's going to be at least one of the top 5 players in the country, you'd say. Maybe top 10 if things don't go as well as they have in the exhibitions. Maybe he's only a top 10 best player in the country, but that's who determines how far Duke goes in March.
Yep, he's really good. He's really good. Just the physical presence, and I know obviously. Look, I know the fan base loves generational one and dones, and I already can see some comparisons that they're trying to make. They don't want to make him just yet, but they're trying to say, is he like better than Cooper Flagg? I would pump the brakes on that just for, before Duke plays an official game, because they're two different type of players. Flagg was a 3 that played the 4 for Duke, that could play the 4 for Duke, and Boozer's a 4 that can play the 5 for Duke. They both can be ball handlers in this offense, but what separates Flagg from Cam, in my opinion, is he's quicker, obviously, and he's more fluid in his motion. Cam is stiff, but he is strong as hell. Like, Cam is not going to blow by a defender, but if that defender is in his way, it's just like the LeBron treatment of you're too little. I'll brush you off of me where it's not an offensive foul. I'm just showing you my strength, and I'm going to get to the rim. And I don't know a Duke player I've ever seen be that dominant of just like, I'm driving. Oh, there's 2 guys coming here. I'm going to push you off the way. I know Zion is strong as hell and was an athlete. Cam is just, I don't know how to explain. He's just different in the way I feel like he really grabbed an oak tree and lifted off the ground. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, if you want to go to comparisons, I would say he's a lot more comparable to Paolo than he is Cooper.
Yeah, he is. But even then, Paolo was more, he was more fluid with like the ball in his hands to go break a defender down one-on-one to get to a spot. Cam's not like that, at least not right now. But he's still, I mean, he's special. Yeah, he's absolutely special.
Yeah, it's just when you're looking at a 18-year-old or 19-year-old who is playing against guys that are 3-4 years older than him, and he looks like he's big bodying them. It
was Tennessee. Like this team, Rick Barnes' team bullied Duke out of the round of 32, 2 or 3 years ago. And now you have a freshman come in and he's bullying his whole team from 1 through 5. Like, I know obviously it's not the same guys, but I'm just saying Rick Barnes' type of dudes were on the floor against Duke, and Cam Boozer was like, I am the strongest guy here. I don't care if there's a 26-year-old on this court. I'm going to body you and throw you around.
Chad Baker-Mazara is out in USC, isn't he?
Yeah, USC. Yeah, USC.
What do we think? Averaging over 20?
The one hiccup I have with him so far is he scares me with his inefficiency. Like, his efficiency needs to be better. But this is also my take with Cooper at the start of his freshman year, and he became.
I was going to say Cooper's first 2 months, he was not an efficient scorer of the ball
at all. And so if Boozer can be that, a little bit quicker than Cooper was, then absolutely 20. You can plug him in 2012 and 4. Like, I think that's your type of stat line you'd get in and day out. Even with the gauntlet Duke has in the non-conference schedule, 2012 and 4 would be my stat line for Cam Boozer.
Yeah, that's the other crazy part. You know how much it's going to hurt me if I went through all last year saying that Cooper Flagg would have a triple-double, and he did not ever have one because he never got to double-digit assists, because he never hunted assists when he would get to like 8 or 9. And Cam Boozer's going to come along and have the triple-double this year.
I like that take. I think he will too. His teammates have to make open shots, but I mean, that's also, again, what Duke did last year was miss open shots early in the season. But I want to go into our X factor now, Connor. Who to you is your X factor for this Duke team to really get to the level Duke needs to be a national championship contender?
Pick a point guard and insert name here.
I figured you were going to go that way. I figured you were going to zig, so I'm a zag. But go ahead.
I
You don't have to pick one or the other. You can just say the position and why.
Yeah, I mean, we spent all summer hearing about Caleb Foster's improvements, and we have heard about his leadership, and I'm not trying to diminish any of that. But what we've seen in 2 exhibitions is a lot of the same things that we saw that led to it being a smart decision to move Sion James into the starting lineup last year and to bring him off the bench. And that concerns me because I don't think there is a Sion on this team.
Not as of right now. Yeah, not as of right now.
Yeah. So if Caleb Foster is still doing the same types of things that he was doing last year, if Caden Boozer is not Sion James, where does this team get initiation of the offense from? And you don't need that as much. Like I kind of agree with Rick Pitino where you don't have to have a point guard anymore in basketball because you have so many different, like the ball skills of a Cam Boozer or a Dame Sarr. Hell, even let Isaiah Evans bring the ball up the court, and if they sag off of him, he can try to bang you a 3, and it's a quick 3 points. But like, you need somebody to be the initiator, and you need somebody to handle pressure if they're applying backcourt pressure. And
correct.
I don't know if this team has that. That's scary going into the season.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean that's going to be the most popular answer, and rightfully so, right? I mean it's the key position. I know Rick Pitino said you don't need point guards, but I mean you can look at Duke lost to Houston because of Tyrese Proctor did not have a. I know he missed the front of the 1-and-1, but he was really bad against Houston as a whole for the 40 minutes of that game, and before that, in that tournament run, he was really good. And I liked what I saw from Caleb Foster in the pivotal moment against Tennessee where he got fouled and it was a 1-and-1. I mean, everything's hindsight 2020, but I bet you 85% of Duke fans were like, he's missing the front end of the 1-and-1. And he drained them both. Like, it didn't hit rim. He just looked up there cool and confident, knocked them down. And I have in my prediction, I'm going to talk about, or my floor ceiling, I'll talk more about the point guard position. But I think Shire's kind of said it like in AC Media Day. At ACC Media Day, he said that he needs Caleb Foster to be a solid connector, to do everything, just to be the guy that, rebounds and connects the offense. And that he had like a really good practice the day before ACC Media Day. He had 9 assists and 0 turnovers. I think that's just kind of what he's going to be, is what I think people are looking for him to score and be this guy that's going to give you 10 to 14 points in a game in, game out. It's not. I think he is a guy that's going to give you 5 or 6, and then he's going to give you 5 or 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and then 1 turnover at most. Like, that is this Caleb Foster stat line. It's just, can Caden Boozer give me a similar stat line? And then my X factor, can he be a possible point guard for this team or run some point at some point? Dame Sarr. Maybe he's like a Sion James that arrives later for Duke. Obviously not via transfer portal, but Dame Sarr is my X factor, and I figured you would know this just because, I mean, Dildy said he's Duke's best on-ball defender. They can guard 1 through 4 with his length, and that's like the one area of his game that's been very smooth transition from playing European basketball to playing at Duke. His X factor ability is, can he not put his head down and just go against the trees and is like, I'm putting this up off the glass no matter what? Because that's what gets him. That's what got him in trouble in the practice segments I saw of him, where he's just a little frustrated and getting his head down, and he's trying to try and draw a foul and look to get bailed out on a foul call, and he's jumping off 1 foot more. He's now jumping off 2 feet more consistently, but I know when he came to Duke, Dildy said on my question that he was jumping off 1 foot, that they had to really put it into him, hey, jump off 2 feet. He can jump off 2 feet and be smart around the rim when he penetrates with what he can do with catch and shoot. If he's a legit slasher for this team, then I think this team's ceiling goes even higher, that you got a long, lengthy slasher that can catch and shoot and be your emergency point guard if Caleb and Caden are just not cutting it for you.
Yeah. So I think a collective X factor for us is
a primary ball handler.
That, but I was also going to say Malik Brown needs to be healthy.
Yep. Because we're gonna have to have iffy minutes against like whoever Duke plays in. I was just like a Wofford, like somebody that they play in a non-con of just, hey, we need to rest Gongba and Malik and give Iffy just 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's tough to parse John's words together sometimes. He went from saying after the UCF game that he, quote unquote, frankly, probably could have played that night, to then saying after the Tennessee game that this week, the week that we're at the end of now, was a really important week for Malik to get back. And John always talks about how important it is for guys to play together so that they know each other's tendencies, they know their timing, they know their communication skills. So in weighing how much John prioritizes that, John chose to not play him against UCF, and then he also doesn't play against Tennessee. So it tells me that either in their calculus, they decided it was more important that he's healthy, or they decided they didn't want to risk whatever could hold him back or could be re-injured.
Yeah. This is where I like side with, I guess, the coaching staff of sitting him, because the coaching staff that I have close connections with, that is not Duke, obviously an A-10 team. When I was talking to them about their upcoming 2 close scrimmages, exhibitions that they're playing, they had 2 guys that they were like, they're ready to go, but we're sitting them because of just, we don't want anything freaky to happen, though they're 100% healthy. And so I'm not saying Malik is 100% healthy, but I could see if Duke's frustrated, like he needs to get out there, he needs to play. We got to see what he looks like with our guys, but it's going to look terrible if he just gets nicked up in exhibition when we could just rest him for a meaningful segment of a game to ease him back in with the 4 other guys on the court. So that's where I think Malik is healthy. I think he's healthy. I just think Duke is just more skittish of, hey, this guy had a separated shoulder twice last year, just had knee surgery to clean some cartilage out, and then just you don't want to risk that in against UCF or Tennessee, though you want to see what your guys look like together on the court. So it's a weird like cat and mouse game in your head of like what to do there. But I think that's ultimately what's happening.
Yeah, that's just one of the main themes with this team, I think, is there's less margin for error than there was last year.
Yeah.
And the best place to look at and point to last year as an example of that was the first time Malik went down, which was a knee in January. You're thinking
that too.
Yeah. The surgery was on the opposite knee, by the way. But you think, okay, well, Kaman Malawach played really well in the Notre Dame game that he went down in. Got a little overshadowed by Cooper's, whatever, he had 42 in that. It was the season high game. But we knew, and we didn't know to the extent yet, but we knew Kaman could not play 40 minutes. That was made evident a few weeks later. But
the most Duke of all time. The most Duke of all time.
So you're thinking, okay, well, they've got Kaman Malawach to play X amount of minutes. John had told us they did not want to play Cooper at the 5 because they wanted to keep him at the 4. There's Pat Gongba, who's barely played all year and didn't have a summer. Well, he's going to come in and look like a projectable big man with great hands and footwork, and he's got a little bit of a mean streak to him, and he's the type of guy that 2 months later you're putting in the ACC championship game and running offense through him against Louisville.
And he was not in game shape because you kept calling him Fat Pat, apparently. So it's crazy.
So there's no version of that. I mean, if Ife Ufechukwu wants to be that, then great. Sure, Duke would have no qualms with that. But there's no third center that is magically going to give you 8 to 12 minutes a game in ACC play when your backup center is down.
Yeah, it's
Cam Boozer. So you're doing what you said you didn't want to do last year with Cooper, which, I mean, like you said a few minutes ago, like different skill sets, different body types, different ways they move. Cam Boozer can play some 5. But but I would guess that's also something they don't want to figure out too much.
Yeah, it's he can play the 5 better than Filipowski could play the 5 when Duke was undersized. But again, you don't want to
I was
play.
going to say something really mean.
Oh God, don't do it. But you don't want to play. You don't want to use that as like. You don't want to use that. You don't want to use that card of like, well, Cam can play the 5. Let's stick him down there. That should be your adjustment of, oh shit, we're in foul trouble. Cam still minutes at the 5 until Pat can come back in or Malik can come back in. And it's kind of what happened at Tennessee because Pat got in foul trouble, and then against UCF, it kind of happened out of forced out because Duke did not look good with Cam and Pat playing the 4 and the 5 together. So I was like, all right, well, Cam, you run some 5, and Duke went on like a 12-0 run or something like that and kind of blew it open right there early in the second half. So I want to pivot, Connor. Let's go to obviously Duke plays the gauntlet of the non-conference schedule. I want to know what your favorite game, not the best game you think it's going to be, just your favorite game of watching Duke against blank on the schedule.
Period or just non-conference?
Let's go non-conference, and then you can give me period also.
Okay.
You can give me conference and give me ACC, or you can give me non-conference and ACC. Give me both. That's fine.
Non-conference, and trying not to be a prisoner of the moment. I really want to see the Michigan game because I want to see the late February game.
You're such a piece of shit, dude. You're such a piece of shit. Because that's what I have.
So mean.
That's what I have.
What am I supposed to say? The Arkansas game?
No, you're fine. You can
Cal versus Duke again.
You can say the Michigan game. We can agree for once on this show that on one segment.
You know so much more about a team by then. Like,
yes,
the version of Duke that we're gonna see against Texas and Kansas and even Texas Tech on, I think it's December 20th. They're going to be so much different by the time the NCAA tournament rolls around. They're going to be so much different by the start of February. So give me the game in late February where they're playing a team that I'm pretty confident is going to be in the top 25 all year. Give me that one in a neutral court.
I think they'll be better than that. But yeah, I mean, I have that also.
Hey, let me hedge something because they do have Elliot Cadeau as their point guard.
That's valid. My main reasoning, obviously, Elliot Cadeau, Pat Gongba rematch of the ACC tournament when they're jawing at each other. But Cam Boozer versus Yaxel Lindenberg is going to be probably the best, my favorite 1v1 matchup in college basketball. There's only 2 players last year in college basketball that led their team in every statistical category. One was Cooper Flagg. The other was Yaxel Lindenberg at UAB.
That's a good nugget.
That guy is unbelievable. I told you when I think it was the Duke Georgia Tech game in the press box, I had Yaxel Lindenberg 20-1 odds to be National Player of the Year. He now has the 3rd or 4th best odds to win National Player of the Year. I think he has better odds than Cam Boozer. I think Cam Boozer's one behind him.
You going to cash out?
No, I'm not going to cash out. I'm going to let it ride. But I think that matchup is going to be just fantastic. Dusty May is a hell of a coach. It's going to be a lot different than the Duke Illinois game for multitude of reasons. But it's going to be fun.
You would think Michigan isn't going to have like the whole team has the flu going into the game.
Yeah, that. And I mean, if I want to, I'll zag since you said Michigan. I'll go Kansas because I like Darren Peterson. I want to see how good. That's a great test for a good defensive team where Duke's defense is going to be way ahead of the offense, as I've said. But let me see Dame Sarr out there guarding Darren Peterson. I'm sure that's where Duke's going to have his length and his physicality out there. Obviously, you might try Caleb Foster, maybe, but I think it's a Dame Sarr matchup, and that'd be a really good matchup between the two where Dame Sarr chose Duke over Kansas also.
You know what's nuts about this segment right now?
What?
Neither of us have mentioned the Duke plays the defending national champs at home.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It is a non-conference schedule, like for the ages.
Yeah.
Even just even the pageantry of going to Army for a game.
Yeah, that is a wrinkle. But statistically, I mean, they were the national champion last year, but they lost their best player, and the chances of them repeating are not great, even though it obviously has been done before. Duke is one of the teams that have done it. But I'm just saying, like, now I'm moving on to this upcoming year. Florida's still going to be a wagon, don't get me wrong. But Arkansas, I mean, Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas are going to be – that's high profile. Like, these games are nuts. Florida's going to be good too. I mean, Florida got Boogie Flan from Arkansas, and they have Condon coming back and Hawk coming back, and they just –
Didn't they get the Princeton transfer too?
Xavier Lee, I think is his name. Yeah. So they're going to be loaded. And yeah, you're right. Like we're leaving that out, but that just shows how much good basketball is on the slate for this season. Not saying last year wasn't, but it kind of wasn't because the ACC was down. It was so down last year to where Duke really went 19-1. Obviously, the loss to Clemson. So, Connor, that leads me to my question about what's your favorite conference game?
I keep trying to – now I'm trying to pick what I think you won't say.
No,
so
just
that you won't get mad at me.
I can zag. I'll zag.
I want to say the home game against Louisville because I think the two best teams in the conference are hands down Duke and Louisville. And thank God the ACC did some smart scheduling, and they play each other twice. Louisville and Carolina are the only two teams in the ACC that Duke plays twice. It sucks. I don't like it. You don't like it. I'm sure many of our listeners don't like it, but that's just kind of the breaks when the ACC goes from a 20-game schedule to an 18-game schedule, and they did that so that teams could beef up their non-conference schedules. Hence what we just talked about. Like Duke has games in that non-conference that they were not going to have if not for the ACC lopping two of the ACC games off. So
it's very funny that the ACC or conferences are going from football, you're adding another conference game, and then basketball, you're getting away from conference games. So it just it's ass backwards, but it's whatever. And that's a good one. Obviously, Mikal Brown, again, talking about highly touted. The freshman class in college basketball this year must see television every night. Just unbelievable.
Also, Louisville's backcourt is the best backcourt in the ACC
with Isaac McNeely and
Ryan Conwell from Xavier.
Yeah, I agree. They're a handful. Pat Kelsey can coach. I'll go. I'm down to two, and I'll just say them out loud. Like, obviously, at NC State, I know you're tired of the Will Wade discussion, but, like, that is classic Duke at NC State. It's going to be rocking like it was back in the day where it's rocking. And NC State is the team that has a target on their back from a team that did nothing last year. They didn't even make the ACC tournament, but now they have Will Wade, the preseason ACC Player of the Year, Darren Williams, and other newcomers. They're a defensive-minded team first. Darren Williams, I said it on my sleepers episode we've ranked 1 through 100, and some of those have been ratioed, which has been hilarious to see, like the outcry. When you have 200 names and you have to go from 1 through 20 is easy, and then from 21 to 100 is just like, I don't know. And this was made before exhibitions, so like Malik Thomas, for example, for Arkansas was like 96. I had him like 70th, not to brag, but he was like 96 for consensus. And he had like 20, and everybody's like, you don't know ball. I'm like, well, it was a month ago we made this. It's just now coming out. But my point about Darren Williams, he's ranked, I think, in the 21 through 30 maybe. Or anyways, my thing with him, though, I had him to be the one that doesn't live up to expectations because he was so inefficient last year for Texas Tech. I think he had 14 games last season. I have it right here. 15 games last year where he shot worse than 40%. And one of those games, he was 8 of 26 in the NCAA tournament. He got bailed out because JT Toppin was the best player. And at NC State, you're the guy. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch him play against Cam Booth.
You know when that game is?
When? I don't have the schedule in front of me.
It's the last week of the season. I didn't realize this because what purpose does it serve to look at the end of the season when the season hasn't even started yet? But Duke's last 3 games are home against Virginia on a Saturday. Then they go to Raleigh for NC State on the Monday night, and then they close with a home game against Carolina.
Jesus.
So that's, I mean, based on what I think both of us think of the ACC, outside of Louisville, that's the top 5 for me. Like
Yeah,
the way I picked the ACC was Louisville, Duke. I think I went Virginia, NC State, Carolina.
I was going to say the other one that I was tossing up with was Virginia at home. Duke plays Virginia in Cameron. I'm a big Ryan Odom guy. Really like what he's always done. Easy guy to root for. And then I think they crush the portal just from you get an absolute high power scorer from San Francisco. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Malik Thomas.
Yes, Malik Thomas. And then you have Jakari White and Dalen Hall from BYU, Jakari White from South Dakota or North Dakota State. North Dakota State. Two different type of point guards that are dynamic in their own separate ways. You get rim protection, then you get another shooter from Toledo. I think it was Sam Lewis. They can fill it up in that offense with Ryan Odom.
Don't forget Tice DeRitter.
And Tice DeRitter coming in as a 22-year-old freshman. I bet them. I have them plus 18-1 odds to win the ACC or win the ACC regular season. You can get on DraftKings. They're plus 1,800. I wrote a piece on Action Network. That is something that's happened in this offseason. If you're just tuning in, I'm writing college basketball for Action Network. My first piece was long shot odds of UVA winning the ACC regular season, and then doing Sleepers media stuff as well on top of our Big J and Little J show. So busy bee, Connor. This is why I wanted to go to the Final Four last year, and here we are, new season with a lot of stuff on my plate, and I'm happy to discuss all of it, but most importantly, talking Duke basketball with you again.
We're not going to change the name of the show.
We're not changing the name. No, it's always going to be Big J, Little J show. I accidentally backed into being credentialed to where I could be Big J and Big J, but it doesn't have the same ring. So we're still Big J, Little J. I'm only going to make that a few times this year. So I will be at the Duke Texas game in Charlotte. So that will be a great way to kick off this season. And I want to get to the closing, Connor, our floor, ceiling, and why, and then our actual prediction. So what would you say the floor is for this Duke team? It doesn't have to be a record. It could just be like where you see them ending up in March Madness, like a short exit, and why.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this team's a lock to be in the second weekend. I could see if they don't have the regular season that they want, you're not a 1 or 2 seed. You don't get the luxury of playing some not that great seed, so you could find yourself in one of those 4 or 5 games, and that's a game that Duke lost to Tennessee, like you mentioned earlier, the second round game down in Orlando a few years ago. I'm not going to say the floor is like a 500 season and they're declining the NIT bid or anything, but the guard play scares me, and that's why I think the floor is lower than it was last year. I don't know if they could slip down to all the way to a 6 or a 7 seed. Like, I would think the non-conference strength of schedule will be so high, and they'll do well enough in the ACC that they'll be at least like a 5 seed. Yeah. But they could be a week 5, and they can get beat.
Yeah, I mean, I have the floor. I just went through the schedule and just gave you a record out of 31 games. So I was like 21-10, 22-9, somewhere like that, to where it's a non-conference. I mean, they get their ass kicked. They're just not – they don't make the progression early enough like they did last year, and they slip up because of what you said. The inconsistencies of the point guard position loom large, especially early on, and then maybe like the Cedric Coward saying in the draft is a huge development that Duke doesn't have that wing scorer that is efficient that Duke was counting on to have alongside Cam Boozers, having a guy that's out there that can just fill it up on, give you 30 on 10 shots. Isaiah has proven that he can get hot like that, but Coward is doing it at such a crazy clip in the NBA right now. And then another reason Dame Sarr doesn't develop offensively, like I've just talked about, like maybe he just is a defensive-minded guy, and Duke doesn't have – one thing Duke does not have in general is a guy to put on the floor and create. Like last year you had a few guys. Like Tyrese Proctor was so good at taking this guy off the dribble, getting to the cup, or a little mid-range when he go between his legs, step back at the free throw line extended. You don't really have that with this unit. Obviously, Cam Boozer can put the ball on the floor, but like I said, he's bullying his way there. But can somebody else prove to me they can get to the cup on the dribble? Can you show me? And then biggest fear, health at the center position. Not only Malik Brown, but Pat Gongba's foot injury. Does he have a flare up to where his foot is sore? He's got to miss a couple games, whatever. That is an area where Duke cannot stand to be injured at the center position that we've talked about. So I put 21-10, 22-9 with like round of 32, like you said. And then, but that's our pessimistic side. Optimistic side was the ceiling for you.
Yeah, this team can win the national championship. I mean, I don't know if 40-0 is in the cards, and I really don't think 40-0 is in the cards with this non-conference schedule because of how we've seen them struggle in the non-con games in years past. But yeah, this aside from the Final Four being in a city that ends with Appalus, I think this is a team that can ride Cam Boozer. I think it can get some sophomore jumps from Isaiah Evans and Pat Gongba and throw. Can't believe it's been 46 minutes and none of us have said the name Darren Harris yet. But if Darren can become a lethal outside shooter and play some decent defense, then that's another sophomore to take a jump. But yeah, they have every bit of a chance to win the national championship as anybody in the country other than, I don't know, maybe Purdue. That seems to be everybody's consensus number one team right now. Maybe Houston, just because they deploy grown-ass men, and that wins.
Houston Kelvin Sampson, somehow he retains his whole lineup for about 6 years. Like one guy will leave, but then three guys will just grow on the tree, and all of a sudden they're juniors, and they're just can't miss physical specimen defenders. And then they'll graduate 2 years later, and here's three more juniors that have been underneath the umbrella for about 6 years somehow, and they don't lose. They never dip. Like Kelvin Sampson, his teams never dip. It's crazy, but they're going to be really good. Same prediction. I put my sleepers preseason prediction. They asked me to do like a Final Four thing, and I don't even remember the four teams beside that Duke won the national championship just because I wanted to see people say the Duke homer. I was playing college ball 26. Got a text message as I was playing. It's like, oh, let me make people mad. I think it was Purdue, UConn, Duke, and maybe Houston were my Final Four. And I put Duke to win national championship. The mentions went exactly how I thought they were going to go when the Duke guy picks Duke. But, yeah, the ceiling is that. If Duke gets the production of Foster and Caden Boozer, I said in my notes, they combine for 13 points a game, 8 assists per game. That's okay to me. That gets the job done because two guys are trying to play one position for Duke. I assume the minutes are going to be 22 and 18 or something like that. So, yeah, per 40, you give me 13 and 8 at the point guard position. However that cooks, one gets 10 points, the other gets 3. I don't give a damn. Give me those. Numbers will be okay. Dame Sarr turns out to be the solid initiator of the offense, like I talked about, the slasher and catch and shoot threes to go along with this defense. And a bright spot for Duke already is their physicality on defense will win them tough games. As we saw last year and as we saw against Tennessee, Duke had a scoring drought in the second half late against Tennessee, but Tennessee couldn't take advantage of it because they were in an 8-minute scoring drought because Duke wasn't letting them score. Duke wouldn't score from the field, but they're getting to the line in the second half, but I think they had like an 8-minute field goal drought. But they're still winning the game because Tennessee could not score in general. And so I think you will have those games again this year to where Duke will win ugly games, which is, like I said last year, it's a great sign for me. You win ugly, your team's really good. And I think, and then Cam Boozer's National Player of the Year, like with this prediction. He's the best player on the best team. And Duke takes care of business going back to the Final Four and gets a national championship and win it all. So that is the ceiling. But I want to know your actual prediction now, Connor, because we just went floor, ceiling. Now we got to meet in the middle.
Okay. Great.
I'll go first.
Go.
So I put Duke's defense will be ahead of the offense, like I said, going into mid-December like last year. And I say mid-December because I know everybody points to the Auburn game, the Isaiah Evans come-out party, and it was like, okay, here's Duke's offense. It's fun. Well, the following 3 games, Duke shot 26% 26% from three against Louisville. They were only up 28-21 at half against the Incarnate Word the next game, and they were up 25-16 at half against George Mason. And so after the Auburn game, I vividly remember seeing Twitter having meltdowns of this Duke team. They cannot score the ball. They are not good. They can't do this.
They went back to Atlanta.
Yeah, they can't do this. They can't do that. And the overreaction was crazy because every time you have a gutted roster and new guys come in, it takes 2 months for it to really look clean to beginning of January, late December. Late December was when Knipple made those threes against Georgia Tech, and everybody's like, oh, this white boy can shoot the ball. He shouldn't be benched because everybody wanted him benched. Everybody wanted them benched. And the overreaction is going to be crazy, but I'm going to stay 10 toes down and be like, hey, it's going to be fine. Weather the ugly games, weather the storm. I think Duke, my prediction right now is Elite Eight. As we record this preseason preview, I'm going to say 25-6, Elite Eight, which is in the middle of the round of 32 and national champion. But I really do see this team making a deeper run in March Madness to possibly redeem from last year's team of the Final Four.
Okay.
You can't give me anything. What the hell, Connor?
I don't want to. I hate making predictions.
Look, the thing about predictions is they're always wrong. They're always wrong.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Right.
Who cares? You could say NIT. Just do NIT. We'll get great clicks for the podcast.
I just said that I didn't think they were going to be turning down the NIT bid.
But the people that don't listen to this show, they don't know. So when I clip it and I get people mad, they're going to listen to the show. And then they'll listen to you say that, and we're good. Then we make millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars?
Yeah, DraftKings wants to be our sponsor, and so it's a bidding war with them and YouTube TV. Since nobody else can be on YouTube TV, they're going to, instead of having ESPN, they're going to have the Big J, Little J show.
I'll say Duke gets back to the Final Four.
Perfect.
And
Look at that.
Loses in the Final Four.
That was like pulling teeth. All you had to say was just get to the Final Four. You say losing the Final Four?
Losing the Final Four.
Losing
the same round they did last year.
Because this was going to happen. If this happens, Duke goes back to the Final Four. I stay with you at the Final Four last year, and they lose in the Final Four. There is going to be serious conversations about our friendship. There's going to be. I will have to make calls to like figure something out of just like, hey, he can't be invited back to the Final Four. I can't be invited back to like something's got to give for one of us to get Duke over the hump. And if I have to be the sacrificial lamb, so be it. I can watch from afar, but that would suck so bad to go back to the Final Four with you, and then Duke loses in the Final Four again. So
I didn't say they'd blow a 10-point lead in the last 5 minutes or anything.
That's uncalled for here at the end of the show. That's just I was having a good day. You ruined it. It's Halloween. That was uncalled for. I was trying to enjoy my Halloween night. But whatever, Connor. You didn't say that, but you did in your breath and your facial expressions. But I think I said Elite Eight. That will change.
You're not even as much of a believer as I am.
I know. I bailed out with meeting in the middle of the national championship in the round of 32. But look.
They went to the Elite Eight with Kyle Filipowski as their center.
Yeah, I know, but they also had Jared McCain, who had, just a lightning rod. And that team was flawed, and they made the Elite Eight. You are right. You are very correct. But, what is it? I was going to say, I looked up the calendar right now. I know it's Halloween. I just said it was Halloween. It's Halloween night. Elite Eight is where I have the prediction. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And that's great news for all because I'm hardly right. So, look. Episode 1 of Duke Basketball is here of the 2025-2026 season. Connor, I'll see you tomorrow at Clemson for Duke versus Clemson, and then I'll see you in Charlotte for Duke versus Texas.